And the thing is, they had to keep that hot while it was in the station.
Where was the station?
Well, they had steam pumps in 3 different stations. The old one on Main Street, or not Main Street, on State Street. The one that is being used for senior citizens right now, out on Westfield. Yeah, right. That one had. Station Denton had. In fact, I think I've got pictures of both of them having one in. But they didn't always have them in the same station. They moved them around some. And then I think the one up on St. Cloud as well. Yeah. But that's what I got. But that was a very small station. I kind of question. But that's one of the things that I found.
Where was the station on State?
On State Street, right behind the Star Hotel, right across from the actually.
Right next to the alley.
Yeah, right next to the alley. There are 2 fire dogs that are buried there yet today as far as parking lot. One fire dog was Dexter. I forget what the other one was. Dexter was kind of a famous one. They taught him to put out fires. And he was very good at it. And they went to one fire and there was a chicken coop that was on fire. He ran in there and pulled the chickens out and they were on fire. He just shook them like the chickens to get the fire out. The fire went out, but the chickens were dead. A lot of fun. That stuff.
Is that an original LaCrosse pumper then?
What?
Is that an original LaCrosse pumper?
It is. It was the last steam pumper that they bought.
In the 50s, I remember one that sat like that back in the corner of that fire hall.
This would have been it on State Street.
On State Street. My dad took me there in the 50s.
Do you know how they, not only did they have to keep that hot, so that they would get them steam fast, but you know how they set up with the horses? The horses were in their stall. When the alarm went off, they let themselves out of the stall. Actually, the doors automatically opened with the alarm. They went to their place, and all of their rigging was suspended in the air over where they had to be. The horses would back into where they're supposed to be. The firemen would let the rigging down, put a couple of clips on it real quick, and they were ready to go.
2 horses or 4?
This one ran with 3 horses.
3
now, you find some that same type of unit with 4. When this was in parades and when it's been used otherwise, it's been 2 horses. The other thing that's kind of neat about this is they had, wasn't this unit, but another unit like it, that they had a team of 4 horses on it. And the horses were always ready to go. They were anxious to go. The thing is, they would take them out, run them out to the fire, but they didn't want to stop. They wanted to keep running. And the firemen got into trouble. And they were 4 great horses, fastest ones they ever had to work with these. And they finally were saying, well, we're going to probably have to get rid of them because we cannot stop them. they get them down a couple blocks and bring them back, and all that still would work, but it still delayed them. So they were looking seriously at exchanging them for some other horses, and someone had mentioned the gentleman that really could handle horses very well. They had almost everyone in the fire department that thought they could try to handle the horses and couldn't do it. They hired this other gentleman. They said, well, come in and see if you can handle them. He did. So they took him on as a full-time fireman. He ended up being the chief later on. So
was this a volunteer fire department? Or
this was a volunteer fire department except for a specific few, similar to what they do up in Alaska right now. They had to have the men on board that would see to it everything was ready to go when the alarms went off. So each house, I think, had 2 men all the time.
How much does that thing weigh? It looks so heavy.
I can't tell you. I've heard it, but I don't even have it listed anywhere. Firemen. There is another unit, just like there's only, I think it's 5 units total that they were aware of. There's another unit like it down in Tucson, if I remember right. That's been completely redone. It's just gorgeous. One of the things we're talk about this because we do want to get it done. There's several things we're looking at. Do we first of all want to paint it or do we want to clean it? Because it's just like most antiques. If you paint an antique, you've lost most of the value. But yet we do not look at the value as much as presentation, but also keeping the original as much as possible. So, okay, for presentation, yeah, I'll paint it. But original, but we're trying to preserve as much as possible, leave it as is in many ways. Yet, I guarantee you that that is not the original paint job on that. You know, when the firemen had free time, what were they doing? They were cleaning everything up and they were painting what needed to be painted and everything else. So that's not the original job. The trick would be finding the person that can do the proper paint job. The other thing that we're looking at, if we can get the monies, and right now we have insurance companies we're looking at. And I haven't heard anything back for a while, but they were considering giving us funds to fix it up, but we would not let other insurance companies use it, and they would use it for their advertising. Pictures is all. You get her out and people can see it. They get a lot of pictures. We had someone else look at it that knows steam, knows boilers, everything, and he looked at it and said there's only about 2 pieces on it that need work on it, and it's ready to go. Remember, it was working after the last time it was done, and they actually had a demonstration. They never took a video of it or anything like that. So, but we're thinking, okay, do we want to go ahead? And I would say before we start doing lobbying, we fix it up enough to use it, and videotape it being used. But I don't know what the insurance would be for doing that. It would be not cheap. But something that we would go out possibly for a grant and they will get that thing working, take the videotape of it. That's the end of the last time it runs as far as. So these vehicles in here, this is the neat to talk about. Now obviously the Johnny Depp car, the Oldsmobile, that's a beautiful car. Steve currently got one there. Beautiful car there. Kids love it. Of course, Johnny Depp is the thing that you're looking at. But when they start looking at it, they just think it's good. But I don't know if I want to be the driver, although I love doing it. I do very clever. Same thing with almost any of these. Though I think that truck is great for great time. But no, that's something. Now, what I would normally do for kids, and I've already gone over 20 kids. They're about the 20 minutes, I guess. What we talk about otherwise is transportation. We talk about trolleys. This is one of the original LaCrosse trolleys. Horse pulled on track.
And converted to electric in 1898.
We converted to electric, yeah, I think it was 98. I believe that was it. And this was one of the first electrics. Completely open. I was on one similar to this down in, and it was not an old one though. They built it themselves, and since it's burnt, and they rebuilt another one down in Rockford. That one was driven, it was on tracks, of course, but it had power in it, a Volkswagen engine. But this is beautiful, and this is right where they turned it around on the north side. So,
Where was the birthday?
I don't know where that says where it was at. You got the guys' names. Yeah, 1898 brewery. This photo was taken.